Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Bold and the Beautiful, BNB, recap for Tuesday, October 21st shows that Luna Nozawa's Lisa Yamada, cellmate approved her beating request when Bill Spencer, Don Diamont, refused Luna's release. As Steffy Forrester's Jacqueline McInnes Wood jail visit progressed, Luna expressed her intention to focus on Will Spencer, Crew Morrow, and her baby when she was released, rather than Steffy. Of course, Steffy was sure that Luna would remain behind bars indefinitely, but Luna didn't believe Bill Spencer, Don Diamont, would allow his grandson to be born there. Steffy didn't believe Luna genuinely knew Bill, and was afraid she'd be locked up. At the Spencer mansion, Bill told Will and Katie Logan, Heather Tom, that he had been working with a lawyer on the custody issue, which would not be easy to win. Bill stipulated that once the baby was delivered, Luna would have no further contact. On Tuesday's BNB episode, Luna was once again upset to discover that her next visitor was not Will. It was Bill instead, who wanted to inform Luna that her baby would be stolen from her while she was allowed to fester. Bill realized that he should have left Luna in prison in the first place, and he reflected on the error he made in trying to see salvation in her. Bill reminded Luna of all the power and connections he'd used to get her out of jail before. Bill intended to use the same influence to keep Luna in prison. Luna was in tears as Bill left, and he refused to help her. Luna had to resort to a familiar approach when she was returned to her cell. Luna asked her cellmate to do it again, even though she didn't want to get smacked in the stomach. Luna had clearly planned the last attack behind bars and was now attempting to coerce her cellmate into doing her another favor. The cellmate looked happy with the proposal, as she eventually decked Luna. At the Cliff House, John Finn Finnegan, Tanner Novlin informed Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, and Ridge Forrester, Torsten K., about Steffy running directly to confront Luna after hearing the newest news. Steffy eventually returned home for a reunion with Ridge and Taylor, where she discussed her Luna encounter and expressed her disapproval with Ridge's choice to marry Brooke Logan Forrester, Catherine Kelly Lang. Finn later spent some alone time with Steffy, which included much of Luna reassurance, a discussion about how much they missed each other, and a makeout session. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers suggest Luna will continue to pull some shady acts, so don't miss out. The Bold and the Beautiful, BNB, recap for Tuesday, October 21st shows that Luna Nozawa's Lisa Yamada, cellmate approved her beating request when Bill Spencer, Don Diamont, refused Luna's release. As Steffy Forrester's Jacqueline McInnes Wood jail visit progressed, Luna expressed her intention to focus on Will Spencer, Crew Morrow, and her baby when she was released, rather than Steffy. Of course, Steffy was sure that Luna would remain behind bars indefinitely, but Luna didn't believe Bill Spencer, Don Diamont, would allow his grandson to be born there. Steffy didn't believe Luna genuinely knew Bill, and was afraid she'd be locked up. At the Spencer mansion, Bill told Will and Katie Logan, Heather Tom, that he had been working with a lawyer on the custody issue, which would not be easy to win. Bill stipulated that once the baby was delivered, Luna would have no further contact. On Tuesday's BNB episode, Luna was once again upset to discover that her next visitor was not Will. It was Bill instead, who wanted to inform Luna that her baby would be stolen from her while she was allowed to fester. Bill realized that he should have left Luna in prison in the first place, and he reflected on the error he made in trying to see salvation in her. Bill reminded Luna of all the power and connections he'd used to get her out of jail before. Bill intended to use the same influence to keep Luna in prison. Luna was in tears as Bill left, and he refused to help her. Luna had to resort to a familiar approach when she was returned to her cell. Luna asked her cellmate to do it again, even though she didn't want to get smacked in the stomach. Luna had clearly planned the last attack behind bars and was now attempting to coerce her cellmate into doing her another favor. The cellmate looked happy with the proposal, as she eventually decked Luna. At the Cliff House, John Finn Finnegan, Tanner Novlin informed Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, and Ridge Forrester, Torsten K., about Steffy running directly to confront Luna after hearing the newest news. Steffy eventually returned home for a reunion with Ridge and Taylor, where she discussed her Luna encounter and expressed her disapproval with Ridge's choice to marry Brooke Logan Forrester, Catherine Kelly Lang. Finn later spent some alone time with Steffy, which included much of Luna reassurance, a discussion about how much they missed each other, and a makeout session. The bold and the beautiful spoilers suggest Luna will continue to pull some shady acts, so don't miss out. Luna sat in the corner of her cell, her knees pressed tightly to her chest, the cold concrete floor stinging through the thin fabric of her prison jumpsuit. The air was thick with the smells of damp stone and sadness, which she had become accustomed to during the last 3 years. Her fingers touched the edges of a little, worn photograph she kept hidden in her pocket, a portrait of her daughter, Mia, smiling under a summer sky, her eyes filled with the type of delight that only a kid could feel. Luna's heart wrenched at the memory, a sharp, twisting agony that never went away, no matter how hard she tried to ignore it. The cell block was silent tonight, save from the occasional cough and the distant clang of a metal door. Luna preferred silence. It allowed her time to reflect, to relive the events that had led her to this point, where optimism felt like a cruel joke. She had not always been so broken. She was once a lady with aspirations, a mother with goals, and a believer in second chances. But life had a way of unraveling, and hers had fallen apart quicker than she could sew it back together. It all began with a mistake, a desperate one born of love and fear. Luna was a single mother who worked 2 jobs to keep Mia nourished and clothed. The expenditures piled up faster than Luna's wages could support, and when Mia became ill, the hospital trips depleted her meager resources. She had been drowning, with her head barely above water, when she made the decision that changed everything. A friend, someone she felt she could trust, offered her a way out. "Just one delivery," he had stated. "Quick cash, no questions." Luna didn't inquire about the contents of the package. She did not want to know. All she cared about was having enough money to pay for Mia's prescription, keep the lights on, and purchase her daughter a winter coat. She was apprehended by police before she could even arrive at the drop-off point. The shipment, it turned out, contained enough cocaine to earn her a 7-year term. They called it possession with intent to distribute. Luna attempted to explain that she was not a dealer, but rather a mother attempting to save her child, but the judge's gavel dropped like a hammer, and her pleadings were devoured by the system. Mia was placed in foster care, while Luna was transferred to Blackthorn Women's Penitentiary, a gray stronghold where hope went to die. The first year was most difficult. Luna quickly discovered that Blackthorn had its own set of unwritten, but unbreakable regulations. The guards ignored most of what happened inside, while the convicts established their own hierarchy. Luna kept her head down and did her best to avoid problems. She worked in the laundry, folding linens till her hands were raw, and spent her nights penning letters to Mia, which she never mailed because she had no idea where her daughter was. The social worker assigned to Mia's case stopped receiving her calls some months ago. But trouble found Luna anyhow. It always has. A group of convicts, led by a lady named Carla, disliked her. Carla was a lifer, a towering figure with a scar down her cheek and a reputation for harshness. She dominated the cell block like a queen, and Luna, with her calm demeanor and refusal to fight back, made an easy target. It began with tiny things, food stolen from her tray, her bunk ruined, and her meager belongings thrown on the floor. Luna tolerated it, telling herself it was just temporary and that all she needed to do was survive until her parole hearing. The hearing was her lifeline, the only thing keeping her from giving up completely. She had been a good prisoner, never making difficulty and always according to the rules. Her lawyer, Bill, a fatigued public defender, had pledged to submit a compassionate release request. "You've got a good case," he informed her at their previous meeting. "A sick child, a spotless record in here, a one-time mistake. The judge might go for it." Luna clutched those words like a drowning woman on a raft. She allowed herself to envision walking out of Blackthorn, finding Mia, and starting again. She imagined Mia's face, older but still hers, like the tiny girl who used to fall asleep in her arms. Luna's hope faded as the hearing ended. Bill had summoned her to the visitor's room 2 days earlier, his expression somber as he gave the news. The judge denied her request. No explanation, no second chance. Only one word was imprinted across her file. Denied. Luna stared at him, her mouth dry and her heart thumping so hard she feared it would burst. Why? She whispered, her voice barely audible. Bill shrugged, averting her gaze. It's just how it goes sometimes, he'd explained. The system is not designed to accommodate individuals like you. Luna sat in her cell, the photograph of Mia quivering in her hands, as the words rang in her mind. People like her. Poor, desperate, and invisible. She had trusted Bill and expected him to fight for her, but he had given up as quickly as the judge did. She felt deceived, not only by him, but by the world, which had offered her a chance to set things right before snatching it away. The cell block was no longer quiet. Luna heard heavy, slow footsteps approaching down the hallway. She returned the photograph to her pocket, her motions fast and practiced. The door to her cell rattled, and she looked up to see Carla standing there with 2 other convicts. Their faces were hard, and their eyes glinted with something Luna recognized all too well: malice. Get up, Carla urged, her voice low and threatening. Luna did not move. She knew what was coming. She had witnessed it happen to others and heard the stories whispered in the laundry room. When someone received bad news, a denied parole, a lost appeal, or a family member's death, they were vulnerable. There was blood in the water, and Carla was a shark. I said, get up, Carla said, entering the cubicle. Luna stood slowly, her legs trembling. She was not a warrior. She'd never been. But she wasn't going to beg either. She had done plenty of it in court, and nothing had changed. The first strike was quick, a fist to her stomach that knocked the air out her. Luna slumped over and gasped, but she did not cry out. She refused to give Carla satisfaction. The second strike grabbed her jaw and sent her falling to the ground. Pain erupted in her head, bright and blinding, but she bit her lip and remained mute. The other 2 inmates joined in, hitting kicks on her ribs, back, and legs. Luna curled into a ball to cover her head, clutching the photos in her pocket, as if it could shield her. It wasn't just the pain that ached. It was shame, knowing that no one could stop this. The officers would turn away, while the other detainees pretended not to notice. Luna was alone, just as she had been when the cops handcuffed her. The judge convicted her, and Bill informed her she would never see her daughter again. Alone. The beating stopped as abruptly as it began. Carla bent down, her breath warm against Luna's ear. Do you think you're better than us? She hissed. Sitting there with your sad little picture, like you don't belong here. Princess, you are now one of us. Get used to it. She stood up, spat on the floor, and went out, her lackeys following closely after. Luna lay there for a long time, her body aching and her breath coming in short gasps. She did not brush away the warm, metallic blood that poured from her lip. She lacked the strength. She reached into her pocket, fingers quivering, and pulled out the photograph. It was crumpled and shredded, but Mia's face was still there, smiling. Luna clasped it on her chest, tears in her eyes. She had no idea how long she lay there, staring at the ceiling, her mind flitting between recollections of Mia and the reality of her cage. She remembered the day Mia was born, how small and perfect she was, and how Luna swore to give her a better life than she had. She remembered the nights they'd spent reading stories together, Mia's head resting on her shoulder and her tiny fingers gripping Luna's finger. She remembered the last time she saw her. In the back of a social worker's car, her face pressed against the window, her eyes wide with panic. Luna had failed her. That was the truth she couldn't avoid, no matter how hard she tried. She had failed Mia, herself, and the life she once thought they could have. And now, with her parole refused, her body wounded, and her spirit broken, she wasn't sure how to continue. The snapshot in her fingers felt heavy, a reminder of everything she had lost. But then, somewhere deep inside, a small spark appeared. It wasn't hope, really. Hope was too delicate and easily broken. It was something more difficult, something unyielding. Luna had lasted 3 years in Blackthorn. She had survived her daughter's death, the system's treachery, and the cruelty of women like Carla. She was still alive, still holding Mia's picture. Maybe that's enough for now. Perhaps it had to be. She forced herself up, wincing from the agony in her ribs. She put the photograph back into her pocket, moving slowly, but deliberately. She refused to let Carla see her break. She would not let the system triumph. She had no idea how she'd accomplish it, how she'd get through the next 4 years, find Mia, and put things right. But she knew she had to try. For Mia. For herself. Luna wiped the blood from her lip and stood, her legs shaky but her determination unwavering. The cell block was quiet again, with long shadows across the walls. She inhaled deeply, the air chilly and biting in her lungs, and muttered a vow to herself. She'd keep going. She'd find a way. She'd see her daughter again. And in that moment, in the solitude of her cell, Luna felt something she hadn't felt in years, a glimmer of courage, a refusal to surrender. It wasn't much, but it was sufficient to get her through another day. The next days were equally difficult. Carla and her gang remained unyielding, their comments and shoves serving as a continual reminder of Luna's position in the hierarchy. But Luna learned to negotiate the cell block with a new level of caution, her eyes constantly scanning and her body poised to move. She stopped eating at the cafeteria and took her meals back to her cell. She stopped talking to those who didn't need to be spoken to. She became a ghost, sliding between the cracks of Blackthorn's harsh world, invisible but surviving. She resumed writing, not letters to Mia, but a journal scribbled on scraps of paper she discovered in the laundry area. She wrote about everything, the anguish of losing her kid, the shame of her error, and the rage at a system that didn't care. She wrote about the beating, Carla's sneer, and how the guards looked at her as if she were nothing. Writing became her lifeline, a method to keep herself together when everything else was tearing her apart. One day, a new convict arrived, Sarah, a young woman with wide eyes and a timid smile. She reminded Luna of herself when she first arrived in Blackthorn, terrified, hesitant, and trying to figure out where she fit in. Sarah was assigned to the wash, and despite her better judgment, Luna took her under her wing. She showed her how to properly fold the bedding, how to avoid the guards' tempers, and how to keep her head down when Carla was there. It wasn't much, but it felt significant, a modest gesture of generosity in an environment that lived on brutality. Sarah spotted the photograph one day when Luna took it out to look at during a break. "Who is that?" she asked, her voice gentle and intrigued. Luna paused. She hadn't talked about Mia with anyone in years. But something in Sarah's gaze, something sweet and genuine, compelled her to respond. "My daughter," Luna whispered, her voice scarcely audible. "Her name is Mia." Sarah added, "She's beautiful," and Luna smiled for the first time in a long time.